It's Lynda West. I'm so excited today to interview Penny Zenker of P10, and she's a productivity expert, which is really good because we were a little bit late getting started. And I got to tell you, that's because my productivity skills were not on check this morning. So I'm going to talk to Penny about that and find out what I should have done differently. But before we get started, I want to share with you guys, I'm going to be speaking at an event called Massive Success Breakthrough, February 9th through 11th. And if you're interested, and they speaking for 30 minutes on the big stage, which really, really is exciting for me. And I can't wait to do that. But go to attendmsb.com if you're interested in that. And then as far as the show goes, we're going to talk about productivity and getting that it's the end of the year. We're getting ready to go into the next year. And a lot of times people make resolutions to get more organized or to do certain things. And so Penny is going to help us discover what's the best way for us to get into that and just to be more productive. So share this with anybody you think that this could benefit, who could benefit from this. And then lastly, if you have any questions while we're going, please put your questions in the comments. And if you are a replay viewer, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're a replay viewer, please put your questions in the comments too. And I'll make sure to tag Penny when you have questions and we'll get them answered at a later time. So again, thank you so much for being here. And this is, let's see, we got here. And I'm going to go ahead and read her bio to you guys. She's absolutely amazing. And I met her at an event. I'll tell you all about that in just a second. So as a Tony Robbins business coach and international speaker, Penny Zenker has worked with people all over the world to double their businesses and create more capacity for the leaders. Now, who could use some of that? We can all use some of that, right? So she helps you reset your priorities, regain focus on what gets results, and balance your skills and mindset to help you get results faster. Entrepreneurs and business leaders seek her business coaching because of her experience, skills, and strategic approach. And I met Penny at CEO Space in Las Vegas about a year and a half ago. And I got to tell you, I had one session with her, and that one session really unlocked something in my brain that helped me. It's weird because I'm an organized person, but I'm not nearly as organized as I thought I was. And that was one thing I discovered with Penny, which thanks a lot, Penny. That was actually a good thing for me because I thought I had it all together, but I didn't. And you really shed some light on that. So thank you for that productivity tip that you gave us at CEO Space. But welcome to the show. I'm very, very excited to have you. And how are you doing today?
Thanks, Lynda. It's great to be here. And I'm doing great. We all need a boost here and there. I was talking to somebody earlier and they're like, well, you're the expert in this. And I'm like, yeah, and I have challenges too. That's probably why I'm so focused on it.
Right. And why don't you share that? Because, even though there's people are experts in certain areas, they still have challenges as well. So if you want to maybe share with us, one of the challenges that you have that maybe either you've combated it or you're still working on it, if you don't mind sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we're all still a work in progress. So certain things work really well. For me, it's I create structure for things and process because I'm a little bit all over the place. And so if I don't do that, then yeah, right. I think it's the entrepreneur is really, it's our nature, right? Is to wear so many different hats and to be in different places in our mind and our body might be somewhere else. And so we have to create those structures for ourselves to wheel us back in, to create focus. And so, that's kind of what I've been accustomed to doing. It's not my natural skill. It's my learned and adaptive skill, if that makes sense. So
it certainly does, because when you did share the productivity hack, I'll call it, I guess, with us at CEO Space, I was really resistant to it because, I'm a free thinker and I don't like structure and all this stuff. But what I found out is having the structure actually made me be able to accomplish so much more and so much faster. And that is brilliance, right?
Well, it probably enables you to be more of the free spirit that you love to be, right? So I kind of say structure will set you free. It's the opposite of what you think.
Yeah, and that's a good point. That's a good point. Now, I want to ask you, so let's see, we got the biggest mistake. What is the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs make about setting their priorities?
Well, there's a couple. I think the biggest mistake is that they're not aligning their tasks and their goals. So they lose sight and connection of what they're really, what the goal really is and get caught up in a lot of urgencies And so the tasks become sort of all these reactive tasks versus, really being laser focused and aligned with the goals. I find that to be one of the biggest challenges. I mean, that's also what we had talked about a little bit when it comes to time blocking, is scheduling your priorities, because people aren't doing it.
Right. And when we did the time blocking exercise, what I found, for those who aren't familiar with time blocking, we can have Penny explain it briefly. But when we did the time blocking exercise, what did I leave out? Going to the bathroom, sleeping, eating, things, driving, things that would take up a lot of time.
60, there's not, what did you say, 38 hours in a day. That doesn't exist, right? Got a much greater clarity as to what your capacity is and all the things that you're doing, and seeing that if you took a piece of paper, I think this is one of the things we had you do, and draw a line down the middle and say, what are all the things that you're doing throughout the day? And then to take a look at your goals, and then write a list of all the things that you need to be doing in order to move the needle. You compare them, and whoa, there's a big divergence there.
Oh my God. Yeah. I think I came up to, like you just said, 38 hours a day that I needed in order to do everything that I was wanting to do, or that I thought I had to do. So there's something's got to give, right? Something's got to give.
Well, no wonder one's stressed all the time, right? It's because we're trying to pack in 38 hours into 24 hours. So it just doesn't work.
Exactly. Does not work. Hey, Valerie, we got Valerie in the house. Oh, she's been to CEO Space as well. So I didn't meet her at CEO Space, Valerie, but I don't know. Did you ever meet Penny? Valerie, let us know in the comments. Did you ever meet Penny? And so she speaks all the time and talks about productivity and stuff.
Yeah, and I've spoken a couple times at CEO Space as well, so as the faculty.
Oh, that's what I was saying. You were the faculty.
Right.
Valerie is a member, CEO Space member. Yeah, sorry about that confusion there. So now I'm going to bring up a picture here, and this is of you speaking at TEDx, and this is TEDx. Can you tell us what the topic was about there?
So the topic was about the energy of thought, because really at the end of the day, our productivity starts with our thought. And I use the word productivity, but it's really success, right? We want to get the things that we want in our lives, whether it be, a higher level of fulfillment, whether that's around health, whether that's around relationships. All of that is being productive, and everything starts with the energy of our thought. So that's kind of what the TEDx was about.
That's cool. How did you like that? What was that like, speaking TEDx? Whoa, that's crazy.
Oh, well, it was like a dream come true, because, ever since I was, a young girl, I really wanted to make a difference in the world. And so for me, a platform like that is a platform that is, standing out and making people think differently, and also come together on, different types of movements. And it's just a wonderful platform that is educational and inspirational. And so for me to be on it was just so exciting. Kind of one of those things you can check off your bucket list and be like, okay, I've made it. Now, what's the next mountain to climb? So it was really great.
That is cool. So, that's a good point, because what's the next mountain to climb? So what is the next mountain to climb?
Well, I picked a big mountain. So yeah, I'm always looking for some way to stretch myself. And again, it's about how to reach more people so that they can live better, more fulfilled lives. I really feel so passionate about that, because some of the things that I've realized about the way that I do things really serve me, and I want to be able to, in different ways, to bring that message across. And so, the energy of thought with TEDx was one, and the next one is going to be through film. So,
awesome!
Venturing into some different film projects. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to hear more about that. You want to share anything?
Well, one that I just got involved with was Wishman, which you may be familiar with, from Greg Reed, who's running that. And so, I'm an executive producer on that program, just because it was totally fitting in line with where I want to go with my film that I'm talking to some people about, which is the Wishman movie is the story of Frank Shankwitz. And so he was one of the founders of Make-A-Wish, and kind of what his story was. And the underlying theme is that everybody can be a hero for someone else. And the underlying theme of the movie that I want to put together is that we can all be our own hero. We just have to get out of our own way, and then we can show up as our own hero. And so it was just so closely linked that I was like, this was meant to be.
That's so awesome. I'm so excited. He's an amazing man. And for those who don't know the man, Frank Shankwitz, the co-founder of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. The Wishman movie is coming out hopefully in 2018. Yeah. That's the hope for everybody, but it's going to be a great, great movie. I didn't know you were part of that. That's fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It's awesome.
Are you in the movie?
Well, I'm an extra in one of the scenes, but it's not anything major. But that was exciting and fun, and it's just kind of gotten me introduced to a number of different producers, and just getting my mindset ready to write this other screenplay, and then to bring that to the theater.
I can't wait to see it. That's going to be awesome. So I have a question for you. What has been the secret to your success?
Well, I think one of the secrets to my success, and I didn't realize this until very recently, until the last 5 or 10 years. Mm-hmm. And it's really that I have had the ability to not just think positively, but to be able to choose the meaning when something doesn't go well. Like my father was killed in an accident when he was on vacation when I was 18. And I remember the way that I dealt with that was just, to try and choose the most empowering meaning for me, as opposed to, we can always get stuck in a place where, oh, woe is me, and put ourselves in victim position, and lots of terrible things happen out there. And that is, there's no denying that they've happened. And the key thing is, what do we do with it? And so one of the keys to my success is just being able to find an empowering meaning, to find something that I can learn from everything that didn't go well in my life. I didn't get the result that I wanted, but use it as a stepping stone to be a better person, and to see it as, a way to empower myself. So I think that's definitely, and that's what I call the energy of thought, right? It's one of the stepping stones to us gaining that fulfillment and the success that we want in our life.
Well, let me ask you a question. It's off topic of the productivity issue, but because the power of thought. And so you are 18, and let me ask first, was there any sort of grieving process?
Oh,
and so there was a grieving process. Because I was wondering, because when my sister passed away, which was just a year ago in November, I didn't have the typical grieving process, but it was a grieving process for me. And I am often hear that, well, you have to go through this, you have to go through that. And I'm wondering, just questioning you, do you feel that that's something you absolutely have to go through, some of these bad things, in order to have the good experiences, or to have your thoughts focused in on the positive sides?
Well, I think that, when they talk about the stages of grief, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
It can be very fast, right? Each person is different in the way that they go through them. And I believe that when we have something that happens in our life that is traumatic like that it also can, like I found years later, there were still some things that I was unraveling, even though I'm totally good about it. There was still, some deep down emotion and sadness that, was still there. And that's okay. Like it's like an onion, right? You take off one layer and maybe there's, some other layers underneath, but my process, I still probably went through all of those things. I just went through them maybe quicker than some of the other people might have gone through them.
Yeah. And that's a great point, because I did grieve, but it was very short too. And actually I was kind of like a public griever, I guess, because since I do so many Facebook Lives, I did a lot of my grieving on Facebook Live. And for me, that I found made me heal so fast because of the support that I had worldwide. Mm-hmm. And like, for me, it was a good thing. Some people might be critical of what I did, but for me, it worked. I mean, it was amazing. So, so for me, it's what worked for me. And I think it's all important for us to discover what works for us and to do that instead of worrying about what other people think about it. I mean, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely is to, it's each person's own process. So, they definitely have to do what's right for them and not worry about it. I mean, isn't that what holds us back in every area of success is fear of what other people think, judgment. You can even relate that. I know we're not talking about productivity, but we really are.
Right.
Right? I mean, if you're being held back by fear of judgment in one area of your life, I guarantee you that you're being held back in every area of your life. So it's just a mirror for other areas of your life.
That's a good point. Yeah, because fear of judgment was always my biggest stumbling block, and I don't have that anymore. And it might show up every once in a while, but I can oh, that's what that is. Get out of here. Kick it to the curb.
Get out of here.
Exactly. So that's a good point. So as far as it really isn't productivity, but it is because it's a stumbling block from you progressing forward, and you can hold on to, like you say, we can be the victim or whatever and hold on to that, or we can say, this is a great thing that I had with that person. Mm-hmm. They taught me this.
Yeah.
And now let me carry it forward into the future instead of, dwelling on what has happened and they're not here anymore. I mean, I'm not trying to simplify death, but it's I don't know how else to say what I feel about that. So
yeah, absolutely. It depends on the meaning that you give it. I know that one of my friends talked about her mother graduating. What a beautiful way to describe somebody dying. So, and that language changes everything, right?
I love that.
Isn't that beautiful? I mean, I thought, I'm going to use that because I'm big into language, because language affects also everything that we do, including our productivity. So, people are saying, I don't have the time, and getting stuck in phrases, right? It's, it's those words that can open up new things for us, right? Did you survive something, or did you thrive, with something? Do you resist or embrace something? Is very different in the way that the energy is as you show up for it.
Yeah, great points. Awesome. I love it. I love that graduating thing. I could see myself graduating to karaoke heaven. I'm in karaoke heaven. Yeah, I'm in karaoke heaven every day. I do when I sing the birthday songs. Okay, so let's go to balance. Now, balance is a topic that we hear people talk about all the time. And the question I have first is there really such thing as balance? Or do you balance at certain times and you go like this and then you balance, what's balance all about?
Well, I think it's one of those words that's very generic and that everybody has a different definition for it. So is productivity, actually. I did a radio show for 2 years, and I'm just going to be starting a new podcast in January, but not a single person gave me the same definition for productivity in 2 years. So
wow.
Yeah. So I think balance is the same.
That's crazy.
That you could ask 100 people and get 100 different answers. In my opinion, only you can decide what balance is. Somebody says, oh, you shouldn't work as many hours as you do. Well, if you're passionate and you love what you do and you're not stressed by it, so what, right?
Exactly.
So it balance is individual, and you need to check in on the results that you're getting, right? If all your relationships are dead because you're skewed over to one side and not giving that any attention, then maybe there's some imbalance there. Or if you're massively overweight, then you're not taking care of yourself. And so it's our results that help to keep us in balance, I think, in every area of our life, that we get to, be aware and be attentive to, the results that we're getting, be in relationship with our results. And that will help us to better see how are we doing, how balanced are we? And like a plane, a plane is never directly on course. They fly off course most of the time, and then small percentage of time that they're actually exactly on course. So they're always correcting.
Always correcting on stuff.
Yeah.
I love it. So what are some suggestions you see on how to balance urgency versus importance? So,
the first thing is to get clear on what is important, right? So again, it's aligning those tasks and those goals is to be sure that you set goals, because if you don't set goals, you don't know where it's like getting in a car and not putting in a GPS and I got to take my daughter to soccer and I just put New Jersey instead of the specific location that I need to go to. I may get somewhere in New Jersey, but it might be 3 hours away. So you need to be specific about your goals so that you know where you're headed to and what the path is. And then I'd say, number one, challenge your urgencies, because I think it's the curse of the entrepreneur is that we are like, everything's urgent. And that's one of the things that can make us very successful, because we give, we create an urgency and we get back to, put that on customer service, that we're really good in getting back to people. And, but then again, we spread ourselves too thin. So we have to challenge those urgencies. Is this really urgent? Does this really need to be done today? Can it be done, tomorrow, next week? So we need to challenge our urgencies. Mm-hmm. I think also a very important thing is to understand, like you did, what our capacity is. So that you're aware of kind of plan and schedule your priorities, but also plan and schedule your urgencies, so that you don't leave like all day open for your urgencies. Like, I'm going to handle those things within this time frame, and you're going to be more efficient and effective in dealing with those. So, you're going to delegate more. That's something to create more balance, is to say, okay, do I really need to handle this? I mean, it might be urgent, but it might not really affect the bottom line. So let me let somebody else handle this. Mm-hmm. So I think those are some things. And renegotiating with ourselves. That's also another thing. Instead of like kicking something off of the schedule, oh, that's important, but I don't have enough time to do it, right? There's not a large enough time. So I'll just take that off and I'll do it another time. So my suggestion there is to renegotiate and reduce the scope a little bit, but stick to the schedule. Mm-hmm. So even if you only have a half an hour to make progress on that important thing, do the half an hour progress. Maybe it's, your workout. You can't get to the gym, but you can do, these apps have great, like 10-minute intensive workouts. Can you do that? Right. Can you do some push-ups in between calls, or, there's stuff that you can do. So just, reduce the scope and fit it into the schedule.
So you mentioned doing instead of leaving an urgent project, is to scheduling like a certain amount of time or at a certain time of day.
Well, so you can do that. So if we get to like time blocking, right, is that you should always do the things that are most important first. The urgencies will still be there, right? So do what's important first thing in the morning. It's kind of like, the eat the frog concept is,
okay.
Do that thing that's most important and maybe is big and scary, but you do that first, and you're setting yourself up for momentum and progress. Everything else from there is easy. But you just feel so accomplished when first thing you get done is the things that are important, and then you can work through to the other things. So there's kind of a model where you can have, it's like the 1-3-5 model in creating kind of your to-do list. So you've got one major priority that you're going to accomplish in each day. So you name what that main priority is. And then you have 3 like secondary priorities. They're also important and need to get done today and are important to move you forward in your most important goals, whether it's the income that you're earning or a major project that's down the line. And then the 5 things can be those urgency, right? Then you can do the things that have to get done today.
Okay, that's interesting. I never heard of that rule. I kind of like that idea. I'm gonna have to try to incorporate that. So I've tried so many different things, Penny, and honestly, the time blocking has been the thing that I've been most successful at. Mm-hmm. I don't follow it 100% of the time, but I follow it about 75%, which is great, because before I didn't follow anything.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So give myself credit for that, right? It's like, instead of saying, I'm not doing it right, so I give myself credit for what I am doing. And I'm proud of myself for doing that much, because I've never been into productivity. I've just been into partying,
Well, you also don't want to book yourself 100%. That creates stress, right? So that's 75-80% is a perfect amount to be scheduled and thinking about those key blocks that you need to accomplish.
Yeah. And it's been, oh my God, it's been amazing. I know you have this assessment. Let me see, what is it? The productivity assessment that I want to give everybody a link to check out that assessment. It's really cool. So I put it in the comments below. I will figure out how Brown can talk a little bit about the productivity assessment and what that is.
Well, you remember earlier you said, that you thought you were pretty good at being organized, and then I showed you this method, and then you thought, well, maybe I'm not as organized as I thought. Well, so the assessment helps you to create some realizations around that as well. Is that very often I'll ask people, on a scale from 1 to 10, where do you think you are in your time management and your productivity? And they'll say, I'm like an 8. They're feeling really strong and really good about it. But as I said, it's one of those words that is up in the stratosphere. So I break it down. The assessment breaks it down into 10 core drivers, the fundamentals that really, push us forward in being productive and gaining the success that we want. And so by breaking it down into those 10, it gives us another way to look at it, and actually gives people a greater clarity as to what they're really good at and where they're an 8. But they tend to always have an aha when they take this, to find out there's a few areas where they hadn't even thought of it, that it affected their productivity, and they're not, as high on that area. So that might be a gap for them. So it's a great tool to create awareness initially, but then also there's an action section so that they can also, set specific actions to close the gap, to say, okay, here's where I need to work on it to close the gap, and see over time that they can condition themselves how to think and act a little bit more strategically in how they approach their productivity and their success.
And that's a great question I had. Well, great question I have here. Now, the question I have related to that is, a lot of times people will say, oh, that's just the way I am. Okay. So we hide behind that. I mean, I've done it, I don't do it anymore, because I realize that is not just the way I am, because I choose to be how I am, and I choose to be better every day is my goal. So how can somebody who isn't accustomed to saying, well, that's just the way I am, and using that as a crutch, how can they get out of that and stop using that as a crutch? Like, what would be like the first step for them to do, you think?
I think just being aware that you hear that come out of your mouth, that's just the way I am, is just to listen to what that is. So it's such a limitation. We're all more than how we define ourselves, and more than the results that we get in any given day. So, I guess the thing is just to recognize it, and then to say, I can be more. I can always be more, right? It's like karate that has the multiple levels of black belt. Like, don't you see more? Don't you want more in your life? And I think there's very few people who would say, no, I'm perfect where I am. I have everything that I want in my life. I'm fulfilled and everything's perfect.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Because if you just say, I do want more, and then you reach out to somebody who can help you. If you can't figure it out yourself, there's always, reaching out to mentors and coaches, right, who can help you with all of this stuff. And now the P10, the assessment, is it a system that can help people figure out, then, like, closing that gaps? The system helps them figure out where to close those gaps and how to do that.
Yeah, so it's a high level system to give some awareness, and then in the action sections, there are some suggestions on how to close the gap, but also it's very individual. So it takes you through like a self-coaching process, and it can also be part of a group coaching process, more hands-on in a group. So you can take it yourself, or you can be part of a group, and you'll find out what's holding you back, where are the limitations, and where could you, be closing that gap. And so the system is a support system, but it doesn't, there's some additional training, but it depends on what, everybody has different gaps. So it's going to support them in their process of closing the gap, create some accountability, create the awareness, and some training.
Yeah, I find it interesting because a lot of times, in my past especially, I had all these reasons, or really excuses, as to why I was not successful, and have people or blame systems, find people to blame. And I found that my progress started happening once I stopped blaming and just started taking action.
Yeah.
And it's huge how, hey, Patty's there. She says, hi, Penny and Lynda. Penny says, I can always be more. Yes, exactly. So it is amazing. Like once we discover that, once we stop blaming others or blaming systems for our failings is when we can discover how much more we are.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just being accountable for ourselves, right? To really own where we are. And that's great. I mean, we're all when I talk about perfection and what is perfection, I call progress is perfection. So we're always a work in progress. As long as we're being aware of something, even a way of being that we're not happy with. I just went through this training and I heard myself say, I don't have the time. And I'm like, that is such a lame excuse. After I recognized that I said that, I was like, well, obviously I'm not making it a priority. So I have to recheck in with myself, either get out of the course or make it a priority. So we can't take our own bullshit.
Exactly. Like I find myself, I used to sign up for course after course after course. And then of course I didn't have time to do them all because I had 10 courses I signed up for. And then what happened? I didn't do any of them because I was so overwhelmed because I signed up for so many courses. Hello. So yeah, it's all, like you said, a progress, right? So I'm making progress as often as I can. Hopefully on a weekly basis, I'm further ahead than I was the previous week. And it's all a matter of learning about who we are. And we're all, like you said, we're all different. We all are so different.
And we're all beautiful.
Yes,
exactly. Important to know too is that, it doesn't matter what anybody's results are. I mean, we're all beautiful and, and it comes out in so many different ways.
Yes, exactly. And so show your beautifulness, shine it. Shine that light. So I have this weird, this weird light going through my head. I know it's like a lightsaber or something, but it's crazy. I don't know what that is. So, yeah. So what other things because I know the assessment is just one small element to what you guys do, your program. What are some of the other things that you do in your program?
Well, so I have, for people who have businesses and they're looking to really, apply, one of the things I say is to reset priorities. So people who are looking to really get greater clarity as to where their business is going, where could they, focus so that they can really double their business. Usually it's a matter of just focusing on the wrong things. And, so I have a program that helps people to really get structured and focused on the right things. And, sometimes it's before we start anything, especially the new year, is to really decide that we have a goal, but then to commit to that goal in a way that we say, okay, I'm going to put everything in place that creates accountability for myself. Because if we don't do that at the start of a process, then it's easy, like you said, we can fall to blame and say, oh, well, it's this and it's that, and fall behind excuses. But in the beginning, we know we're going to have problems, right? We know we're going to hit stumbling blocks because that's just life. And so we want to kind of preempt that, own where we are and own what could come up, and then put structures in place, like getting, a coach to support you who has expertise in achieving what you want, or a mentor, or applying something like time blocking and having an accountability buddy, or, so many different things that you can do to help yourself to be on track, to set yourself up for success.
Now, do you have a morning routine that you follow habitually, or what do you do? How do you start off your day?
I have to say that I've fallen off my morning routine a little bit, and it's a little frustrating. So I'm in the process of getting back to it. Okay. My favorite thing that I do in the mornings is gratitude. As I wake up and I journal. So what I'm grateful for, what I am excited about for the day, and actually Tony Robbins, I want to get back to doing this because he has a fantastic, what he calls primer. And it's a 15-minute kind of like a meditation / visualization that kind of intertwines health and spirituality as well as your achievement. So I really enjoy doing that. It's a guided type of process, and that was something that I was doing every morning. And I do have my don'ts in the morning. And so those I still don't do. So I do not watch the news in the morning because that's negative energy and I do not want to fill myself up with that. I do not check my email before it's time to start work. So, I know so many people, they roll out of bed and they're checking their email. So I do not. Yeah. I save checking my email for after I get my most important thing done. So my number one thing gets done first before I check email, because email puts you in a reactive mode and I want to start my day proactive.
Okay, I like that.
So I have those don't do things. And then I have the things that I enjoy doing, and sometimes my workout is in there too. So I work out 3 times a week and not every day.
Okay, so your don't things though, you've kept those going, but some of the do's have fallen off, but you're going to start those back up. And so how do you motivate yourself to start those back up? Or at what point did you say, I'm not doing those anymore? What happened? I got to start those back up.
Yeah. Well, so it just, one of the things is I know that when I stretch and I work out in the morning, so that I know that I feel better. Everything goes better during the day. I have more patience. I have more clarity. So, that has to be a priority, even though it's kind of like, oh, I don't have the time, but I know if I don't do it in the morning, that it doesn't happen. And so, it's a matter of doing it when it's going to work best for me. So
right.
Just recognizing it. I mean, I know it and I've known it, and it's just like, okay, I'm not accepting this for myself anymore. So it's stopping the excuses and working with a coach. So right now, I've made sure that my coach is helping to hold me accountable. And for me, when I have an external person, it makes it really easy for me to not let somebody else down. Right. So if I know I have to check in, then I'm like, okay, I'm going, because they're going to check in with me and I would be out of integrity. And so that's so important for me to be in integrity. So I think anybody can check back in with your values, right? And if you can show that you're violating your values by not doing those things, then it starts to be more painful than the excuse. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, exactly.
So it's creating pain for yourself that makes you say, no, I'm not going to live like this anymore. I'm committed to myself.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. Like, why are we like that? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, but it's crazy because I think most people are probably like that. Having that accountability coach, or because even athletes, professional Olympic athletes, like they have a coach, they have somebody who's on their case to make sure they don't have excuses as to why they're not doing what they're doing or what have you. So that's part of their,
right. They've made a decision that they want to be, a gold medalist. And so therefore they're completely aware that there's things that they have to give up, and that they're going to have to control their environment and make choices as a result of that. And so it's the same thing for us, is we have to commit to who we are and what's important to us, and really make that commitment so that we're doing what supports that. So if I want to, stay fit, then I'm not going to go out and buy cakes and candies and stuff like that and have it in the house, because I'll eat it if it's in the house.
Right.
So I can't bring it in the house.
Yeah, my husband brings it in the house, but that's okay. That's another story. That's for another show. So what would be your number one then? Like if you had to pick like only one of the top productivity tips, what would be your number one that you would recommend to people?
I think lately what I'm really encountering is also around goal setting. That is not the norm. And I would say it's set it and forget it, because when we focus too much on the goal itself and the number or whatever that is that we lose sight of, like we were just talking about, what behavior do we need to show up? What are the things that we need to do on a daily basis to make that happen, right? It's not, I believe in the law of attraction, but if you don't take the right action, you can wish it all you want. So, but it's not going to happen. So, I would say we want to focus on our behavior and the process, the things that are going to make that thing, that goal a reality. So set it and then forget it. visualize it, see yourself there, and then focus on the things that you need to do on a day-to-day basis to get there.
I like that. Set it and forget it, because your subconscious, I think, it's gonna remember what your goal is, right? And so do you check in every once in a while though to remind yourself of what that goal is, or to see like where am I in relation to reaching that goal?
Yeah, absolutely. And you check in with your behaviors. Am I doing these behaviors? And then, soup up and tap into the connection of why that goal is important, right? The why is really big to create that passion. But if we get too focused on like a number, like I've got to earn exactly this amount, or, then it's counterproductive a little bit. I had a client who was so focused on the numbers. She had a team of people, and every Monday they would meet and they'd go over the numbers, and she'd be so frustrated that they didn't own the numbers, and they weren't, holding themselves accountable to the numbers. And I said, stop focusing on the numbers. So she started having, instead of those meetings being about the numbers, she started making it workshops into how they can improve customer loyalty, the things that they need to do on a day-to-day basis that move the numbers. And her numbers went way up, because that's what
awesome. Yeah, that's because the focus was the numbers, not the people.
Right.
And you're working with people, not with numbers. The numbers are results. So
Right. It was not the people. So they didn't care, because they don't really see the connection between those behaviors and what's going on and the numbers. So if you focus them on the thing that actually moves the needle, right, which is what they're doing day to day, and then they came up with some brilliant ideas, like give them ownership of it, right? And it changed everything. So that's where it is in generating that ownership for ourselves, the people on the team, so that when we commit, we're like committed with our heart and soul.
Right. And the team will be more cohesive that way, and everybody will be happier.
Right. Yeah.
That's really awesome. Let's see. So Patty says, number one goal is set it and forget it. We love it. We love it. And then she says, let's see. Oh, Lynda keeps me on point. Adam Pate called me out today. Oh, you can't hide, girl. I love it. That's good. It's every once in a while, it's good to be pointed out, or, like called out on something, because it kind of reminds us like, oh yeah, they're right. So I love it, Patty.
People love you. If they're willing to call you out, right, then they love you, because, it's not easy to call somebody out.
Yeah, it's really hard. I've started doing more of it just because I feel more confident. It's more about like, I'm not worried about what they're going to think of me, because, I spent so many years like fear of judgment, and I don't have that fear anymore. So like, I just want them to grow and become, I want to help them. And so I have to put it out there. And that's
exactly.
It used to be so hard. I would shake if I would tell somebody, something that was going to help them. And on video, he called her out on video. Awesome, Patty. Were you like, what the heck? So, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And again, everybody, if you go to livinglife.tv/P10, that's where the productivity assessment is. Go check it out. It really is amazing. I know I did it, and I was shocked. I was like, I thought I knew, but I don't know. Sometimes we don't know what we're doing, what we're not doing, but we don't know until we take that productivity assessment test. Right?
And sometimes we know, but we don't do what we know. So it also helps us get really clear on what we've been ignoring.
It's like an electronic way of calling yourself out.
Yeah, absolutely, it is.
Yeah, so go check it out. And Penny, is always a pleasure. I just love every time I talk to you. It's amazing. And your knowledge, your kindness, and everything is just, I just love spending time with you. So thanks.
Thank you
so much for being here on the show. I really appreciate it, and have a wonderful day. And you guys, if you have any more questions, put them in the comments, and then Penny, I'll make sure that Penny sees them so she can respond to them. Okay. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.